Hello everyone, welcome to the IGN review discussion for Mortal Kombat X. I am your host, Dan Stapleton. With me is Vince Ingenito, our reviewer.
Hello.
Kyle O'Connor.
Hey guys.
And Destin Legary.
Hey everybody.
Our combatants today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Vince's verdict, which we're going to roll right now.
Story only matters so much in a fighting game. Combat is king, and there's a ton of depth to mine for Mortal Kombat X. A much-needed transfusion of new blood, along with the ability to choose between 3 variations of every character, means we'll be learning, grinding, and discovering for a long time to come. Its universe keeps getting harder and harder to take seriously, but Mortal Kombat X is a great fighting game all the same.
All right, Kyle, do you agree or disagree with Vince's verdict?
I agree. I think it's solid. I wouldn't agree that it would be a 9 or plus. I think the positives you listed are all really good. The fluidity of the combat is just really polished in this game. The negatives you mentioned too, like graphical inconsistencies, like totally hit the nail on the head for me, as well as I'm not a fan of the story mode. There are parts I really like, we've spoken at length about, I find Kotal Khan super compelling. Sure. It's the parts I all watched, but the young combatants, I wasn't interested in that at all.
Destin, do you think it's a great game?
It's a good game. It definitely has its shortcomings, and Vince did a good job of pointing them out in his review. You do a really good job of kind of finding that number that kind of encompasses where I feel the game is at. I know some people may disagree, they may feel higher or lower, but I feel like an 8.4 is a fair score for this game.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Wow.
Yeah. All right. And so we know what Vince's favorite parts and least favorite parts are. What's your favorite part of this game, Destin?
My favorite part is probably the gore, like the over-the-top fatalities, the brutalities.
You're part of the problem.
I'm a filthy casual. I'm not that good at the combat, but I love watching all the fatalities. You know, we put them all together and all the brutalities together, and they did some pretty cool stuff with the characters and how you finish each other.
That's really interesting, because like for Vince, I know you just don't care about that stuff at all. You stop seeing it.
Oh yeah, it's like
you skip them.
I skipped them. Right, I skipped them, or it's like it gets to the point where maybe if I get really salty with someone I'm playing online, I'm like, you know what, you're just getting a fatality once. You know what I mean? But like after that, I'm just like tap in the face. Let's move on to the next match. I don't care.
That's true. And Destin, what's your least favorite part about Mortal Kombat X?
Actually, factions. Factions are probably my least favorite thing.
Right, yeah.
We were talking about it a little bit before the show, and some of the faction kills are really boring, to the point where like I'm Lin Kuei, and one of the kills is just you shoot a bunch of shurikens into their face, and they don't look that good. It's just they just shoot them in the chest and one in the head, and it's boring. And the other one is some invisible thing goes by and cuts him, and then he falls over. And then the top half of his head gets cut off. And like they're just boring. They're not really gory. They're not a reward, which is what they're supposed to be.
You're not entertained enough.
Yeah.
I watch it, I'm like, oh, really? That's it?
No, but Vince, you didn't hate factions.
No, I didn't hate factions. I mean, I think it's an interesting way to give people kind of an extra incentive to play every day. And
Daily quests.
Yeah, you have daily quests, and you have kind of this, this is everything now, right? Everything is about competition. Everything is about playing with your friends or against your friends, even when you're not directly playing against them. Progression systems. It's kind of an amalgamation of all those things that have become synonymous with modern day gaming. I think it's fine. Again, it's one of those things that if I'm going to care about anything, it's going to be my win-loss record. It's going to be my ranking on when I play ranked matches. But for people who aren't into that form of progression and that form of stat tracking, I think it's a fine way of giving them something to do. But I agree that the faction kills aren't as interesting as the fatalities, but they kind of can be, right? Because they have to be workable for everybody. Because like Katana can be this faction, or Johnny Cage can be this faction, so you have to have something that works for both.
It's also kind of broken though in the online component. 41% is Lin Kuei right now, right? And like if you're special force that has 8%, you never have a chance of unlocking that 4th fatality that requires your team to win for the week.
All right,
sure.
Well, let's move on to Kyle's. Kyle, what's your favorite?
I really like the training lab in MKX.
Oh, yeah.
It's super thorough, in depth. I like the fact that you can program the AI. Like, I have a lot of trouble with like certain characters and their movesets, fighting against them, and you can train them to do that. You can switch in the interactables. There's a whole bunch of frame data and all the moveset. I know that's not specific to the training lab, but Training Lab is something I like to spend a lot of time on.
And that's something that was carried over from Injustice, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost all of it was carried over
yeah.
from Injustice. There's a couple of things I did add, like for instance, the ability to switch the I think it's really
Yeah,
neat. You can
yeah,
switch the
yeah,
interactables on, and you can actually switch between which stages
Yeah.
interactables it is. And there's a quick short load, but for the most part,
Not
it's
that
almost
bad, yeah.
it's almost instantaneous that it flips over. That's really convenient.
You could turn that off in Injustice too, actually. You could turn off interactables.
Oh, you can turn off interactables, but
Yeah.
there was no set training room.
Oh yeah,
in
where you could
Injustice.
turn on.
Yeah,
You just had to pick the one with the least interactables.
Yep.
So that you can,
Aquaman's lair.
Like Aquaman's
Yeah.
lair, exactly.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
do that. Here you have an actual training mode. And then if you want to just if you want to have the interactables of a specific stage to practice around with, you can just load it in. And it's pretty seamless.
So Kyle, have you been spending a lot of time in the training room?
Yeah, I'm not very good, so I want to get way better because there's a lot of really good players in the office. And yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in the training room. Definitely have.
So what's your least favorite part?
It's got to be the young combatants. I mean, they're fun characters separate from the story, but in the storyline, I just felt like I dragged on. I was like, okay, cool, skip this, do the fight. I'm moving on. I'm tired of it.
It's like Young Avengers or Runaways, but like way less cool.
Yeah, way less cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely the least favorite thing for me.
What about you, Dustin?
My least favorite thing, or do I agree with him?
No, but yeah.
I actually really like the young combatants. I
In
think
the story? In the story, you like them?
Well, in the story, they're a little weak. They could have been fleshed out a little bit better. There's a romantic love interest between a few of them, and I kind
Few of them? Did you play the same story?
two in particular.
Yeah.
Two in particular, and I kind of like that. They're kind of establishing them as characters that we're going to see more in the franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have done a little bit more fleshing out, like I said. I love their movesets though.
Oh, absolutely.
Jackie,
Takeda.
Jackie is really cool. Takeda is really cool.
Yeah.
Cassie has the best fatality in the game.
Yeah.
You know, and her whole attitude, just with her little quips.
Yeah.
I really like that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it sounds like our panel is basically in agreement here that this is a great game, at least to the way Vince presents it as an 8.4. For more on Mortal Kombat and more of our review discussion, stay on IGN.